Roque and me, now we have to make some conclusions. In my case, it's maybe more a comment than a conclusion, but let's go. So in this morning we discussed 4 different papers, but all of them focusing the same more or less question: how to organize a transition from agro-industrial model to sustainable agroecology model. Gloria and Enrique, from my point of view, propose a broad approach, systemic change through participatory action research model at local regional level, and Rob and Mark was more focused in the question of knowledge, how to manage knowledge through oral history, interviews, fieldwork, or also historical accumulated knowledge in digital databases such as Google Books. In all cases, we know that innovation, the agro-industrial innovation model is historically constructed after the Second World War. So we have to know that in order to produce a lot of cheap food after the Second World War, and since then, powerful corporations and multinationals have been woven together that maintains network of interconnected interests with agricultural research organizations, producers associations, also political parties, to defend the interests of these large agro-industrial lobbies that operates in international level, also national level. So these agro-industrial lobbies, from my point of view, must be considered, so I'm agreed with, in this case, Julia is not here? So yes, as Enrique papers point out today, the concentration of the supply of most industrial inputs in agriculture present a high level of oligopolistic concentration. Other studies, by the way, indicate that more than half of the information that farmers receive day by day is also coming from these agro-industrial companies. So the power of these agro-industrial companies is very strong and important. The agro-industry also has its own path of innovation to promote transition and redefine alternatives, technologies that, this is the key for me, that do not question its control over the system. For example, the experiments to try to transform manure or large quantities of slurry into biogas production, for example, into a kind of a green innovation model now. So under these conditions, facing the transformation of the entire agro-industrial system is difficult but not less necessary. Holistic approach to the entire food system must be considered. We must be aware of the different stages of the chain, from food production to production change of inputs necessary to production, and the change of transformation, sale, and consumption of food. A clear conclusion for me is that no technological change or innovation can succeed in isolation. For example, it seems unhelpful to develop theories that focus only on the phase of food production. For example, in order to reduce synthetic fertilizers, for example. On the contrary, innovation theory for agroecology must have to adopt a holistic approach that considers all the parts and builds from those parts something new. However, in my view, we must not only take into account food producers, but also industrial input companies. We must not ignore them, because if we do not attend to them, we also ignore an important part of the forces that limit our ability to establish innovative alternatives. It is also true that from a local approach, the theory of innovation for agroecology must be reconnected with peasant know-how. Mark text also reminds us that no innovation depends only on technological change, and that we must be also aware about the great cultural change that was also a part of this big change in the last 20th century. And we have to do this question: what does it mean to be a good cattle breeder? or what does it mean to be a good farmer, or what does it mean to manage a farm? What does it mean manage, right? So one of the clear conclusions from my point of view is the need to analyze the cultural construction of what these terms means for agribusiness. Terms and ideas transmitted for a long time through multiple channels. But well, therefore, the transition and theory of innovation for agroecology should not expect immediate success either. Rather, we should probably expect gradual changes. Furthermore, and maybe also ironically, agribusiness always repeat this mantra of we want to help farmers. However, what corporations have historically done is to take away more and more of their agency on their own farms. They have been reduced family farm to simple workers with less control over means of production. Therefore, the recovery of peasant agency is a primordial need to build an alternative. Just finishing, innovation for agroecology must rely on peasant knowledge. It must be built from that point. Now, however, about the raw text also raises other question for me. What do we do with the rest or the other accumulated knowledge? Because it is also important to not fall into the romanticization of this idea that all local knowledge is always valuable. So I see a kind of a contradiction, as has been pointed out in the case of Google, for example. It may be a tool for building an alternative, but it is also a corporation that controls our access to information. And the same happened with the big agribusiness. I mean, we use, for example, old clothes, but we have fear to use a photo of a very big John Deere tractor, for example, because these agribusiness companies have these two phases. So if we accept peasant knowledge alone is not enough, the final question for me is we have a final question. Can agroecology or should agroecology rely on the collaboration of industrial knowledge? What do we do with them? So this is more or less my thoughts about this seminar. Thank you.
Now I will just conclude, and now that is not recording, I can speak more freely every time. No, but reading all the papers, and especially following the discussion today about concepts, policies, and also research methodologies. Well, in my research I was reading a lot of papers and books about innovation, and maybe I have to read more actually. But I have seen many new approaches to innovation to overcome the Schumpeterian approach, as Lorenzo and Julia mentioned. But there was one that came to my mind reading these papers and now listening to you. That is, well, an article made by Melissa Leach and others when they made this article in 2012, and they were discussing about sustainable development goals. So it was on this discussion, and it was not about innovation history, but just about innovation theories. But I think it's very useful for commenting today's seminar and also for developing a more theory in innovation. No? And this paper considered that innovation should change in three aspects, no? In direction, in diversity, and in distribution. And they were saying that innovation should change in direction because innovation has to take into account local knowledge and local experiences, as we saw today with the paper of Mark and also the paper of Rob, and well, starting with the oral history that allows us to research the still life knowledge, but also with new technologies that allow us to research on dead knowledge, as you more or less explained. Well, knowledge that is no longer alive, no? It's not dead. But I really like that idea that Mark pointed out, that history can analyze long-term outcomes of agricultural management, which is very difficult to analyze with experimentation and with experimental fields. So I think this is one, on this aspect of direction, where history can help to change innovation theories. In the concept of diversity, they say that innovation should change in the sense of taking into account different approaches to innovation to make it to allow better responses to uncertainty and to biophysical and socioeconomic stresses, as Gloria and Enrique also talked here, and how to approach the agroecological transition, and especially in the way to do it, as Gloria talked about participatory methods, and doing it in a local way, as Enrique pointed out. And the third aspect that this paper was referring to innovation was the need to question who gains and who loses with innovation, with innovation and with innovation policies, which we were talking today. Also, Enrique and Gloria made an approach on the responsibility of public policies. Also, Bruno was talking about the responsibility of companies and the engagement of companies, and also Stefania talked about the individual responsibility and how to address this thing, and how it should be addressed by policies and by public institutions. And to conclude, I think in these three aspects we were talking today, and we were thinking and we were discussing, and that are especially helpful to think historically, not to find some perfect examples on history, but to identify some practices that were contributing on sustainability, and for another good reason, that is that researching on a different past can show that there can be a different future, so we can manage to build it. And well, just to close the seminar, and this is contradictory for a closing project seminar, but I think that this discussion on this seminar is opening new possibilities of collaboration, as you already mentioned, and also to find some answers, and especially many more questions to find answers. And thank you all for coming and for participating.